So we're here doing a walkthrough video of Jolly. It is a Forest River FR3, and you can see it is a huge non-aerodynamic bus here. You'll see that it has huge glass windows in the front. And we're gonna start just walking down the driver's side here to show you what's in some of the outside cabinets. So this first one here is your propane. This is where they would fill it, if needed at the end of your trip. We always try to make sure that the propane tank is, excuse me, 2/3 full. But you're only using it for your stovetop, and your furnace. So the propane does last a good amount of time. There is a gauge inside, but there's one outside as well. You can actually see that this gauge says that it's a quarter full. So before your reservation, hopefully we're going to get that filled up. And you'll have it at least 2/3 or more. The next cabinet is empty. Looks like maybe one of the guests left some fly traps in there. Maybe we thought we'd leave them for the next guest. This next one here is the generator cabinet. So the generator operates on the outside here, but everything for the operation of it is on the inside. This next one has your stinky slinky stuff in it. So just to pull it out, in here you have the little leveler. It's kind of like a ramp that you can put your hose on to make sure that it has good gravity and for the flow. Then you have another side of this hose. This goes in there, and that goes in the ground so that you can see what's going on as you're emptying the tanks. And then your other side here goes attached to the RV, and I'll show you in a minute where that goes. This next cabinet is all of the water and the waste area. So you'll see that this is a little loose here. And again, something to be a little bit delicate. The handles for the black tank for the waste is underneath. So there is a black handle and a gray handle on the right hand side. You can't really see with the video. So what you would do is hook your hose that we just showed you from the bucket. You take this off, hook it up here. Then you come in here, and I like to pull this black handle just a little bit, and then make sure that everything is connected correctly. And then once I make sure that everything's connected correctly, then I'll pull out the handle all the way and wait until everything drains out of the RV. Then close that handle and then pull the gray handle out. In theory, the gray water is just the soapy water from the showers and from the sink, and so that will clean out that hose a little bit. So we always dump the black first and the gray first. No matter if the black is not full, you still dump the black first. And we never leave these handles open. Some people at campgrounds will tell you if you hook up the water to the city water, then you have an endless water supply. So you can leave your handles open so that you have an endless dumping capabilities. But I feel like that provides way too much smells from the dump, and I don't want that coming in the RV. So talking about waste, there is another option here. If you hook up your water hose to this black tank flush, this actually will spray water on top of the black tank and helps to get everything out of there. So we kind of say that every 2 or 3 times you dump, to hook up that black tank flush while that black handle is pulled open, so that you can get everything out of there and cleaned up as good as possible. Still looking down in this water cabinet here, We have two different ways to put water into the RV. You have your city water fill. So when you hook your hose up to here, this actually is going to put water straight into the RV, passing the water tank, and it will bypass that water tank. So you do have an endless supply of water. If you hook up the water to the fresh tank fill, this is actually going to fill your fresh tank. So you get about 55 gallons of water in there, depending on where your hookups are and what, if you're boondocking or not, would kind of dictate whether you want to fill the fresh tank or not fill it. Some people like to drive with almost empty tanks because of the weight of the water, works with your gas mileage. It's really a personal preference of whether you use the city water or the fresh tank fill. Some people get really excited seeing this outside shower, and I just want to point out some ugly truth here. While you might be taking a shower and trying to rinse off, you're standing right above where people were dumping their vehicle and most likely had an accident in this area. So as you're standing in taking a shower, you're standing in, I don't know, poopy, muddy water, and that's gross. So we tend to bring a plastic bin with us, so that if we need to rinse a dog or wash a dog, we'll put them in the bin. Or if we're at a beach and we're taking a lot of outside showers to rinse off, we'll put one of those plastic storage bins here and actually stand in there while we're rinsing off. So the next area you'll see the gasoline tank. This is a regular gasoline, not diesel, nothing special. This particular one, I believe that when you slam in the gas, you have to pull it out just a little bit in order to lock it down, so that the gas will go in. And just to be mindful, if it ever stops at 0, most likely you just met the maximum amount of gas that they'll let you pour at that gas pump, and you need to put the handle back, put the credit card in, and start again, because they only let you pump like $100 or $150 at a time. So FR3s have a very funny feature. See how this electric cable is plugged into itself? This is how it should be if you plan on using the generator. You actually have to plug it into itself. The cord starts somewhere over here, and then you're going to plug it into there for the generator to be used. But when you get to your campground and you have a 50 amp electric source at your campground, you're going to take this yellow thing out, turn around and plug it into your campground, and that's how you will get power. So again, if you're using the generator, it has to plug in. So some people think, well, I only have a 30 amp pole at the campground. Will that work? It has, but what I will tell you is that this RV is 50 amps, and it does have 2 air conditioning units that will most likely trip those breakers if you try to run it on a 30 amp electrical source. And especially if you try to run it on a regular 110 house outlet, it will not run that air conditioner. Also down in this cabinet, you'll see hoses. There might be some chairs when you get the RV. We don't guarantee that there's going to be chairs. They tend to break often, so we used to try to keep chairs in every RV, but unfortunately now it's not possible because we break chairs every week, and guests, unfortunately don't know that they're broken, and the next guest is left without. Going around the RV, there is a really pretty ladder on the back of an RV. There's absolutely no reason to be on the roof of an RV. It's just unsafe, and you can trip on AC units and all sorts of things. So just be careful and don't go on the roof. Some people ask us if you can tow your vehicle behind the RV, and technically the answer is yes, but we need to have a conversation beforehand, because most people don't understand what cars are capable of being towed flat versus a car dolly versus a whole big flatbed like you see over there with the golf carts on it. And so, people are counting on having their vehicle being pulled. It's a possibility you're not going to have the capabilities. We don't rent the tow dollies or the hitches. But is it possible? Yes. The technical answer with the insurance is that the insurance for your RV reservation will cover the RV itself, and then your personal insurance is going to cover anything that you're pulling. So again, in the outside cabinets, you'll see that there is an outside rug. There are a couple of chairs and a picnic table. They may not be here with your reservation. They get moved throughout all the RVs just based on people's needs. But if you have specific requests, let me know. There is a possibility for you to hook up your barbecue to the outside of the RV. But what I find is that this has a regulator on it that regulates the temperature, and then your barbecue has it as well. And our personal barbecue does not run very well off of that gauge there because of the double regulator. This is actually the backs of your refrigerator and microwaves. This is a dummy cabinet. I believe this one here is empty for extra stuff. This one here is your batteries. You'll see that there are some speakers outside so you can have some music, and a TV that's actually locked right now. And the front door of the vehicle is here. And I'll show you again, as you open the door, the steps open up. So we're gonna go on in and show you the inside. So coming inside of Jolly, one of its best features is just how huge this living space is and how far that slide goes out and provides such a huge, spacious walkway in here. I mean, it's hard to kind of gain perspective until you're here, but I mean, if you can look, that's like the whole width of the driver's area that the slide opens up. It's just huge. So a lot of people initially kind of look at Jolly and say, oh, it's a little bit older, but it's definitely an oldie but goodie. It's sturdy. It just is a great RV for the value. But it does have some things that show its age. You'll see that I do have the couches covered a little bit. The seats are peeling a bit. So you see its wrinkles and you see its blemishes, but it still works amazing and will give you an amazing adventure. The main panel for the whole RV is outside the bathroom. So first and foremost, it is so hot. So I need to get the generator on. So I'm going to push the stop button and then wait a few seconds and then push the start button. And you'll hear the generator starting up. And it might take about 3 or 4 seconds, maybe 6 or 7 seconds. 6, 7. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that. In order to get the generator started. Keep your finger on that start button until the generator actually starts. So once the generator starts, I always tell people to keep an eye on the microwave. When the microwave light comes on, that means that the power has been transferred to the RV and you are good to go. So the next thing, because it's hot, we want the air conditioning. It's real simple. You're just going to push the on button. You'll see the mode is already in cool and it's on high and it's set for 62. I really wish it was 62 in here, but it's not. There are 2 AC units in this RV. There's one in the living area, and you'll see that there are these vents. If these vents are both in the closed position, then all of the air is going to be distributed throughout all of the vents, ceiling vents throughout the RV. But if they're in the open position, then the bulk of the AC is going to come out right here. I'm actually going to close the door so we can keep some of the cold air in. Then you can walk into the back bedroom and turn on the AC in the back bedroom. We definitely don't want it at 72, so we'll just turn it down a little bit. It's not going to get to that in the 20 minutes or so it's going to take for the walkthrough video. Again, there's the AC vent in the ceiling. If those vents are open, they're going to give all the air to the bedroom. If they're closed, then it will distribute throughout the whole RV. I feel like this RV needs to have both AC units running at the same time in order to not overwork each other. So if you're not in the bedroom area, you can turn on both AC units, close the door, and give the bulk of the AC to the living area. Coming back to the panel, you have a water heater on button. You'll see that a light turned on. In the kitchen, we have a TV that opens up. There's a coffee pot and a toaster. Your remotes are usually in a basket right here that I don't see. So they must be in another drawer here. You have your silverware, your cooking utensils, some extra storage, oven stuff, some extra storage down there, the dish strainer. Going above the microwave, there's your pots and pans. Then we have our stove top. And I want to really point out, this is not a glass top stove top. This is a glass cover that you must open up. And then when you go to light this stove, you go to turn it into the light position. And then with your other hand, and I can't do it while I'm holding the phone, you're going to use this to spark the stove. And that started really great. Usually it takes some time for the gas to work into the line. Sometimes one of the back burners might want to start before the front one. Sometimes it will take a couple of clicks. And when you go to turn them off, please make sure you turn them into the off position, that they lock back in place, and don't close the stovetop immediately. Those glass, they don't want to get hot and cold and hot and cold. It could be at risk of breaking. So you want to make sure you leave it open. For a rule of thumb, we just leave it open for the whole time on our travels while we're at our destination. Close it for travel. The oven actually works very similar. So the oven, when you push it in, you push it, and it says very clearly pilot. So when you push this into the pilot button, and then you use the spark over here, what's happening is that there's a little bitty pilot that's all the way in the back underneath this shelf, and it's a little bitty pilot, and you're going to use the spark button a number of times for that little bitty pilot to stay lit. And then once that little bitty pilot stays lit, then you can turn the oven to the on position, and the whole thing will go loop and light up. So you're not actually lighting the whole entire oven, initially just that pilot in the back. And make sure you know that the ovens don't cook like they do at home. They tend to kind of burn some things in the center and have things on the outside kind of gooey. So just make sure you rotate things around in the oven, and you're definitely not cooking a Thanksgiving dinner in the oven of the RV. The fridge is a huge full-size fridge. Another one of the amazing features. There is little handles to kind of open them here, and it opens up huge. The power buttons and how you operate it is here. You're just going to push it on. Then you'll see that we have this button here that will turn it from what I call auto. And you'll see that when I cycle through, that has both electric and gas. and then it turned to just electric, that's because the generator is on. And if I go to gas or electric, that's all electric, and then all gas. And again, going back here, it will switch because it knows it has the generator on. So I leave it in the auto mode because I don't want to think about whether it should be electric or gas. I just want it to work. Please note that you're not guaranteeing you that you're going to get a cold fridge upon your pickup. The refrigerators take, gosh, like some of them take 3, 4, 5 hours to cool down. So, you know, we always recommend that you bring maybe a cooler and put it in front. You know, then when you get to your destination, you can put everything in the fridge. If you're going to pick it up and go home to load it, then maybe you can load it and have it cold for the next morning. But do not put cold food into a hot fridge. The fridge will actually turn itself off and decide that it doesn't need to turn on any of the cooling mechanisms because it's already cold enough because it senses the food in the fridge. So also we have a nice dinette system. Dinette. The seat belts are actually underneath these cushions. So if they weren't here, you would move the cushion out and then move the wood underneath and pull them out. There's tons of storage underneath the dinette as well. I feel like people tend to forget things that are down there, especially because maybe one person loaded the RV, doesn't remember that things were put down there, and the person getting everything out doesn't know. So just be very mindful if you put things down there. This pulls out like an old-fashioned hotel couch bed. You know, you take the cushions off, push them aside, then inside there's the regular lift up and fold it out, move out the legs and put it down. Just be careful. We've done our best to make sure that we get some of this leather snow, if we would call it, but it does tend to make a little bit of a mess if you jostle all the cushions around or take the covers off. So be careful on that couch area. Just looking at the rest of the cabinets, that one's empty. Basically empty. It looks like there's a couple of plates, and here's all the rest of your stuff there. Plates and bowls and things for you. So there's adequate stuff for simple meals, but not for a glorious Thanksgiving dinner. Going to the bathroom area, you'll see that there is a little door here and a little door from the bedroom. So you have a separated walk-through bathroom with the shower on the left. We tend to store the brooms and the mops and the trash in the shower just because it's a good, safe place for traveling. You always want to make sure that there's no projectile objects and there's nothing available to fall. This does have a little latch on it, so during travel, make sure you have it locked, but it latches there, so it's not a strength thing. You have to make sure you open that up. There is an on and off button on the nozzle, so just be careful. And then it's just a regular standard shower there. Then we have a door going into the bathroom. The lights are on, so you have the toilet here. And we'll go and just show you how you flush the toilet. And you'll see how there's water that after you flush the toilet, it kind of stays at the bottom of the toilet there. That's kind of by design. It helps to keep the smells from the toilet area from coming in the rest of the RV. So if you, for some reason, didn't see the water flushing, that would be because the water pump was not on. So here we go. Now the water pump is on. I'm going to try it again. Now we see a lot of water. And when you take your foot off, there's lots of water in the bottom. That's what you typically should see. There's plenty of toilet paper in the cabinets for you. You must use the RV toilet paper. It's rapid dissolving and special for the RV to make sure that the smells and it doesn't build up in the black tank. And you have your toilet chemicals over there in that cabinet. Those will be put in after you dump. And it looks like right now there's a little safety kit, a little Band-Aids and such. So that is the bathroom area. So in the bedroom, we have a king size bedroom. In the past, we used to make the beds for everyone. I wanted for you to be able to walk into the RV and feel at home and welcomed. But as you can probably imagine, it is the Florida summer right now. I just did another walkthrough video in a different RV and it was over 99 degrees in the RV. The thermostat actually took about 20 minutes of running the air conditioning before it registered 98, and then it kept going down. So it is really hot and I have sweat coming from my face while I'm doing this video. And I don't think you want me sweating on your bed. So we now have decided to professionally launder our linens. So we have the linens in these bags here, and we store them in these linen bags that are labeled. So this is how, what would be kind of a typical setup when you walk in. And yes, unfortunately, you do need to bake your bed when you come into the RV, but that's part of the camping experience, a setup camp. We do have a TV up here and the remotes. There's the remote bucket. It's the same remote for all the TVs. There's two of them, but it's the same looking remote. Coming back to the panel, on this panel, we have the water heater. So we have an on and off for the water heater. We have your sensors here. These gauges are not perfect. You always hope that everything's gonna say full when it's supposed to be full and empty when it's supposed to be empty, but that's not always the case. So let's look and see what it says now. LPG, it says that it's a third. That is for your water heater and for your stovetop or the furnace. So in theory, this should be filled up before your next reservation. The next one is the battery. Then we have the fresh water and the black water and the gray water. So see how the fresh water wasn't full and the black water didn't say empty and the gray water didn't say empty? So if I came here and I was doing my final checks and I checked, I pushed those sensors and that's what it said, I would take it back to the back of the storage facility and I would make sure that it was dumped and make sure that it was filled and kind of check those boxes. Sometimes the sensors will say 2/3, even though they're empty. Maybe there's a piece of toilet paper on the sensor or something. But sometimes the 2/3 is truly 2/3. Though they're not, there's sort of a rule of thumb. We dump about every 4 to 5 days, and you always dump your black tank and then your gray tank. But just rule of thumb, every 4 to 5 days is when you should expect for those tanks to be full. Then on that panel again, you have tank heaters. That's if it's snowing. We're not snowing here in Florida and we don't allow our RVs to go to snow. Then we have our water pump, that generator that we already started. And these are our slides here. I'm gonna close them in just a minute. After I finish this video, we'll come back and show you that. This table is very delicate. I find that when the slides are closed, that I think people are rubbing up against it and this table gets unsteady. Please just be very careful with the table. It just needs to have some delicacy. If you were to convert it to a bed, you can see that it's not for a typical full-size human, but maybe a kid or a teenager would fit in here, maybe across the angle. You would actually take this table, lift it up, take it completely out of there, take it out of the pools, and then you're gonna lift it and put it just on this little ledge right here. Then when we are getting into bed, if you're gonna put your shoes on, you're gonna stay in this area over here. And then when you lay into bed, it's actually gonna distribute your weight throughout the entire bed there. And so you just never wanna put all of your weight on the table itself because it's just supported by those little wood ledges. We are right now by the front door. Right by the side here, you'll see that this is the main power button for the whole RV. Typically in your reservation, that's going to stay in the on position. The second you turn that off, everything in the RV is off, including the refrigerator. Then the next button you have here is the awning. So this is an awning in and out. And just to kind of talk about the awning a little bit, that awning is not meant to withstand any sort of wind at all. So yes, you're welcome to open up the awning and enjoy that shade. But when it comes time to go inside or go to bed at night or to leave the RV for any reason, you do want to make sure that that awning is closed. Then you have entrance steps. You'll notice when I open up the door, the step actually comes out and then it will go back in. When I close the door, it's actually based on the screen door and it closing. So that now closes, but when you get into the campground, you can turn off that step if you'd like. And then another cool little thing you see, this is your bunk raising and lowering. For some reason, we have a key here that's right now, you can see it's in the off position. We want to turn that to the on position. And I'm going to push the lower button and then I'll kind of look over my head to try to show you what's happening. So the bunk is lowering above here. It does a weird angle and lowers the front half first. Then once the front lowers, you'll see that the back motor is now making it level. And so it is leveling out there and getting to that lowered position. Okay? I will get up and show you what it looks like in that position. Obviously, you're not driving that way. Oh, you can see this mattress is kind of popped up here. There we go. But you're not driving with this down. I actually don't think that it would let you, but you don't want to. And then there is a ladder that goes in this position here. And then I'm just going to go sit back down and raise it back up. Sitting into the driver's area, you'll see I have all of these shades closed. It is a sauna up here with the windows open. So when you get into your destination, I do recommend closing them. The shade button is here on the center console and goes up and down. It actually won't let you operate it while you're driving, which I think is a funny little safety feature. And then obviously you would open up the other shade on the other side. Starting at the left side here, we do have our electric leveler. The levelers are my least favorite features in the RVs. They kind of are cool because it takes some of the work out with leveling the vehicle, but they're also one of the items that gets broken the easiest. So in order to operate the level, you do have to have the key turned into the on position and the parking brake on, which is a left foot brake. And then you can just push this in the on position and you'll see it turn on. I'm actually not going to do it right now because it takes a very long time. But just to walk through all of the different buttons, it's showing you right now that it thinks that it needs to, it's a little bit unlevel on the front and the left side. So you would turn it on, you would have, and then you would push the auto button. It's gonna go wait and it's gonna blink. Wait, 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 wait. And then when it thinks it's done, it's gonna light up the jacks down light. But to show you what the other things are, this low voltage, the low voltage is if maybe the truck batteries are too dead. They need to be charged, maybe the house battery, so you might need to think about how charged your batteries are, turn on the generator, turn on the truck in order to make sure that we have more battery. The next one is a reminder to engage the parking brake. And this excess angle one is probably the most common little light. What I've noticed is if a campground is unlevel, it's really unlevel. And so sometimes you have all intentions to level the RV and it will say excess level. So, you know, you need to move around in that parking space to maybe find a more level location. Last but not least, We have your retract and all jacks button, retract all jacks. And I just want to warn you, when you push that button, it is a very extreme jerk and loud noise. And it kind of catches you off guard if you're not expecting it. So I just want to let you know, you're not breaking anything. It's just what happens. And this takes about 10 minutes to lower the jacks and another 5 minutes or so to raise the jacks. One thing I just thought about when it came to the automatic leveler is that you don't need, in a Class A, you don't need to stabilize the RV. When you're walking around, it's not going to bounce around like a travel trailer would. It stays pretty stable, but you could have the parking spot that's going to be at an angle of some sort, that it needs to be level, and the fridge wants to be level, or it's not going to work properly and you can do damage to the fridge. So just make sure that you do have the RV at level when you get to your campgrounds. So keep going through all the buttons here. We do have a battery boost button. That's kind of a funny thing that I always say is not going to be needed, but these lights do not have an auto position. So we have had a number of circumstances where drivers, or even myself, have left the RV and left the lights on. I don't know how we didn't know, but we've left the lights on and totally killed the battery in the truck. So it's nice that it has an opportunity to use this battery boost button, that you can push this button while you're turning the ignition in the car, and it will actually boost from the house battery. The house battery will do the same. If you let your batteries die so much that the generator won't start, you can turn on the truck in order to give the house battery some juice to start your generator in order to charge them. So they work in tandem. This next one is the lights. This little rolling light thing, there are some lights up there. Oh, they're on. So you'll see, and I'm going to turn them on while I'm on the video. A lot of times I get calls on how to turn these off. This is on that little rolly slidey thing here. And that's what turns those lights on and off. Again, you have your parking brake. It's a foot brake and the release. The ignition is pretty normal. It does have a cruise control, but absolutely no need to use the cruise control. I feel like you need to have full attention to the RV, 2 hands on the wheel, using every aspect of your mental attention, physical attention. There's no reason to use the cruise control in an RV. Take control of the full operations of the RV. So let's talk about operating or driving the vehicle. You're not driving 80 miles per hour down the freeway. We feel that 60 miles per hour is a good distance and no reason to go past that. Mainly because when you get to that 55, 60 miles per hour, everything in the back is rattling and making noises. And it's really hard to decipher between what's going on in the RV and maybe if there's something wrong. So staying at that respectable 60 miles per hour gives you time to possibly brake, because you're not going to brake in any sort of quickness. It's going to take you forever. So if there's an accident in front of you, it's going to give you time to slow down. We stay a little bit farther behind vehicles than you normally would in your car. But driving this drives more like a bus. It's a big steering wheel. You'll notice that your back end swings out really far. Oh, it's funny. I was going to show you, but the slide is actually open right now. So that's what you see is the slide. You can Bluetooth to this or hardwire to it here. Your mirrors are here. You can adjust them. All the AC stuff. There's fog lights and LED lights. I showed you the shade that opens and closes. So we're going to get that closed. There's a radio button, speakers of how you want to have music throughout the RV. And that's pretty much it for the driver's area. You will see that there's a little desk area over here that opens out, that makes it a little bit more comfortable for your passenger to maybe work while you're driving. But hopefully instead they're giving you directions and watching the road and talking to you and keeping you company. So again, Jolly is really a oldie but goodie. It's a great RV for not a larger family, because it doesn't have that bunkhouse, you know, and all of the sleeping areas, or two of the you only have the master bedroom that's permanent. All of the other sleeping areas do have to be converted at, you know, when you're ready to sleep, which adds for an extra step and getting ready to go to bed. But other than that, it is a great RV with tons of room, and I hope you enjoy your adventure. Thank you. This is kind of a PS. I thought that maybe you wanted to see what it looks like when you're driving down the road. So I'm now closing the slides right now so that you can see how much it closes up while you're driving. You can see in the back that the bed is all the way up against those cabinets, so you're not able to walk around the bed. And then instead of having this like 6-foot gap or 4-foot gap in between the fridge and the table, you know, you have just an area to squeeze by. But you do still have ample room if you're sitting at the couch, that at least your knees have plenty of room and your feet have some way to kind of put your feet out so you're still comfortable while you're driving. Again, enjoy your trip. Goodbye.